This is the sixth and final video in this series, How to Create Amazing Images. In our last video, we discussed the quality and direction of light. In this video, we'll be discussing shadows and highlights and light sources and try to get an understanding of those topics and pull our photography together. Believe it or not, the human eye can see about 11 f-stops of light, while your camera can only see about 3 or 4. Your camera's missing an incredible amount of detail that's really available that the eye sees. And this is really evident in the highlights and shadows of your photo. You're gonna generally lose detail on one side or the other. We can learn to understand these characteristics and use them to our advantage. For shadow, let's define our terms here. Shadow is generally the darkest part of the image. It's generally pretty close to black. When you're considering a single source, light source type image, for example, a flashlight over here, the shadow would be on this side of the image. We can decide to leave this area dark for a very dramatic effect, or we could decide to add lighting, whether it be another strobe light or a reflector or whatever. You have to determine that. It's all about style, you know. In this image of the St. Paul Cathedral during the crashed ice event, there's amazing highlights and dark areas in there, and you want to capture all of them. If you're familiar with the Red Bull crashed ice events, you'll remember they light up the cathedral with incredible lighting. So it'll be all beautiful colors, in some areas very bright. So the whole dome, the whole front, the whole sides. So you really have to be careful if you're going to capture some of the darker detail of the track from the crash ice event and the light from the building also. You can use your light meter on your camera to determine if you're going to lose some detail in your light spots or your dark spots. It depends upon where you point your camera and where you meter your camera. You may or may not have heard of HDR photography. HDR gives you the ability to merge multiple images together of different exposures and different brightnesses and darknesses, and that allows you to capture way more detail of the image, and you're not losing the highlights or the dark areas. Be sure to check out our video on HDR photography to learn more details, and we have blog posts on that topic also. Now let's talk about light sources. There are basically 4 main types of light sources. Our first source is sunlight. Sunlight is natural light, the most normal light. This is what we normally see, and this is what we compare all other light to. This is the baseline of light. Sunlight's great light, but it can't be relied upon all the time. It might be cloudy, so the conditions change so rapidly. So there are reasons for other sources of light. Our second source is tungsten light. Tungsten light is a fancy term for a normal household light bulb. Tungsten light in general is a warmer light, gives off a yellower hue, and it affects your images. So when you take pictures in your house without adjusting your camera, you will have a more yellow image unless you have a super magic camera that changes those things for you automatically. Our next lighting type is fluorescent light. Fluorescent light is oftentimes known as the hated light, the blue light. It's difficult to deal with, it makes noises, but there are times where you will have to deal with it, so you need to understand it. And the fourth type of light is electronic flash. And if you're a photographer, you might have started to experience electronic flash. Electronic flash is closest in color to natural sunlight, so that's a great tool, but it produces a harsh shadow, so it can be a little bit difficult to deal with. So with flash, you'll have to work with it and play with it. My recommendation to you is learn how to reflect it and bounce it. Don't go straight on with your flash units. So why is all this important, you ask? Because in varying light conditions, your images are going to vary dramatically in color and hue, and they'll be annoying you to death. You need to learn where that terrible color is coming from on your image and know how to correct for it. So first, understanding what it is your first step, and in a later video, we'll teach you how to manage that. Hopefully all this helps you understand, but if it's not quite clear yet, take a look at this. This will show you the dramatic difference that lighting will make in your photography. So now we have a little head knowledge about light, but the real magic doesn't happen until you get out and start shooting and experiment with these conditions. Shoot in every kind of lighting condition and start learning to adjust your camera to take advantage of those lighting conditions. If you like what you've seen here, be sure to subscribe to our channel, leave a comment, share this with your friends, and go ahead and put it on your social media networks also. And until next time, get out and capture the adventure.